I'd open with ceremony, like I mentioned. Open in circle. I'd look at the format as being circle. Open up the students into a point where they can leave whatever they come with. And I think that's a lot of the issues we're happening in elementary schools is students are coming with a lot of baggage. So by looking at ceremony, looking at smudging, looking at prayer, looking at song, that would help to neutralize some of that to the point where it's a safe place to store this right now. In the medicines, in the smudges, in the tobacco bundles. That's one of the things that I would look at as far as program. At least take that time to connect with who you are. Our many cultures, we talk about the Haudenosaunee, the Lenape people, and the Anishinaabe people all talk about their connection with spirit. So once you find that, then we can go from there to help these individuals. As far as a program, I think that should be part of, first and foremost. It's almost like we'd have to get back to a point where our people, their self-esteem is built to a point where it helps give them that identity. Most of our students, from what I gather, come from places, First Nations communities. Even though half our population live off, they still come from a place where their people have been oppressed. And people who are oppressed have a low self-esteem. So we've experimented even with some of our adults in our community using a program that we use in pre-K and kindergarten of building self-esteem. And it's amazing how these parents, you just see it, the energy inside them. And so it's boosting the student to that point. I know it's worked in our situation. I don't know if it would work anywhere, but I mean, it's worth a try. I would design it based on a lot of our cultural time frame. We had talked about that at a previous meeting here with just a round table. We had talked about the idea of looking at, well, Indian time, so to speak. Indian time being defined as when's the best time to educate. And the best time to educate on whether it's science or whether it's math or whether it's social skills and social development would be in conjunction with what we carried out as a lifestyle. January, February, March, the ideal time to tell stories. It's a storytelling time. But in those stories, it also helps builds our values as First Nations people or Indigenous, whatever you want to call us, Anishinaabe for me. And secondly, a program would have to look at a different way of assessing how skills are achieved, the learning objectives. How would you assess that rather than a grade point average? It would be basically experiential learning, I would say. Experience it, let's sit down as a circle and evaluate, and then what do you think that you should achieve? What do you think your grade or whatever it should be? And this was a question that was posed to me when I first started taking the bachelor's programs at Carleton. What do you think you should get? Being a smart guy, I said an A. And I worked for the A. Why is he always asking me the questions? And it wasn't until after I finished that you asked for an A, I made you work for it. But it was done in a most respectful way. And I think this is the other thing that, through my experience, that if you want to be the best, then I might lean on you a little bit more. But I will do it with a good heart. And I think this is something that, because of the high numbers, it's very hard to connect with individual students when you got, so many classrooms come through. But if you're looking at an Indigenous program, then it's going to be specific for Indigenous people. And I think that's the other key, is that we need to get together no matter what corner of the earth you come from as far as Indigenous people. Then if you pull these groups together, I think it should work very well. because then we can learn from each other. And we can get out of that idea of being oppressed, and then we can feel proud of ourselves again. And as far as professors and teachers and instructors, there's a lot of Indigenous people out there that I think have the skills and the ability, and with some guidance can become very good instructors for courses and programs.